Hi everyone, it's Mark from King's Landing Sport Fishing, and I wanted to share a tip I have for rigging up slide divers so that you can put them on a rod very quickly when you need to either swap colors if you've got different colored slide divers, or if you have a break off you need to rig a slide diver quickly. This is the tip that I use. One of the complaints I hear from people about slide divers is that you basically commit the rod to a particular color, which they're not wrong, but there's a tip I have to swap it over quickly. The other piece is, when you're out on the lake and you're in 3 or 4 footers, not so easy messing around with surgical tube and that type of stuff to rig up a slide diver. And I don't disagree with that either. But here's a tip that I use to basically make things simpler. So I've got my slide diver. I've got my silicone tube. I've got some pieces of, hard to see here, but pieces of surgical tubing. And then I use just any old swivel that you have kicking around, as well as a piece of braid fishing line. This is just some 30-pound braid that I have kicking around, so that's what I'm using, but the thinner the better actually for this tip. So hold tight and I'll show you how to do this, so bear with me as I move the camera down. Okay, we got the camera pointed down. I like to do things maybe a little bit different to what slide diver recommend in a box. I run 2 pieces of silicone tubing. The first piece of silicone tube that I put on the diver arm, I put at the bottom, as you can see. I then take my tubing, I slide that in, and I slide it through the bottom piece of silicone that will sit right at the bottom like that. I then take the second piece and that goes over and towards the top. This is why I personally like to do these at home. I just think it's a little bit easier. And since we're all kind of self-isolating or social distancing ourselves, this is a good time to show you guys. So now I've got the tubing and the surgical tube on there. So now I take my braid and I slide that through the tubing I use. There we go, it's through. Now you'll notice you got the hole in the end. Got to slide this through the hole in the end. Now you got to put a piece of surgical tube on here because this is what essentially adds as a bit of a drag or a stopper when you lock the diver arm so it doesn't just slide back and forth on your line. So now we take that, slide that on right here, like so. Now I take this, now I'm just going to cut at the end because it's a bit crooked here and it'll make it difficult for me to slide it through the next part. Now this braid needs to go through the bottom of the diver, like a standard slide diver would. There we go, that's through. And then put the braid through the back hole. And that's through. So now I got a slide diver set up on a piece of braid here. Now, take that swivel, and it could be any old swivel you have. Take that swivel and just tie any knot. Doesn't need to be strong at all. There you go. What this does, it makes it so it doesn't fall off. Now I have a slide diver fully rigged on a piece of braid. So what I do is, I then take the other end of the braid and I just tie a loop in it, like so. Now I've got this for storage. I clip it, and now I got a slide diver. And basically I store them in a box like this. I've got all my various sizes, and they're all rigged like this, different sizes, different colors. They're all rigged in my box here, ready to go in an instant if I have to change one out. So now, what I'll do is I'm gonna grab one of my rods here. So here I've got one of my braid diver rods. And let's just assume that I was gonna put this on this braid diver rod. So I'm gonna so I've got the end. And this is why this is super, super easy to do. Now, I undo the clasp. Again, it's holding it, and I've got my loop end. Now all I do is I take the braid from my diver rod. I take the braid, and again, I just tie some very simple knot. Does not need to be tight. It wants to be small, actually, very, very, very small. So now you'll see my braid, my 50-pound green braid is tied to this bright blue braid that I had kicking around. And all I now do is take my slide diver and slide it onto the green braid. I've now transferred this slide diver onto the green braid, and we're essentially ready to go. And then from there, tie on your favorite swivel. So here I've got a torpedo. Got to open the package here. Take my torpedo swivel. And all I do now is tie that using whatever your favorite knot is, because this is for permanent. So this one's for keeps, as they say. Tie that however you normally like to tie them. Lock it down. Cut the tag end, and I'm done. That slide diver is now fully rigged on my diver rod and took literally seconds to do. So this one's got a glow deep diving slide diver. If I wanted to change colors, I just grab my next color from my box, cut off the braid and loop it and tie it up so I can use it for another day, already done. And then take the end of my rod here and do the exact same thing and tie on my next diver. Super easy. Hope that tip helps for you. Like I said, when I first started using slide divers, I would tie them on the boat, and easy to do when it's flat calm. Not so easy to do when it's a little choppy or out there in 3, 4, 5 footers. And this tip started working for me. So I hope it helps you. Good luck this season. Later, guys.